It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and 7 p.m. in Mykonos, Greece. And this is CarEdge Live for Tuesday, June 10th, I believe it is, with your hosts, me, Ray, here in Ventnor, and, well, Fuzzy Zach in Mykonos. How are you today, handsome?
Hoping that the audio comes through clearly. It seems like the Wi-Fi is a little bit worse today here in Mykonos, so sorry, y'all. But you won't want to be looking at me too much. Instead, you'll want to look at all the incredible data we just got from Kelley Blue Book. Before that, Dad,
Yes.
I'll give you the chance to let everyone know who's the sponsor of today's show. It would be
CarEdge, damn it, it's us!
And that's the throw, folks. There you go. Check out CarEdge.com.
That's as good as it gets. Yes.
Let's jump right into it, Dad. Kelley Blue Book report, new vehicle prices hold steady in May as automakers and dealers work to offset tariff-driven cost increases. The most interesting data point that I found here, Dad, was this right here. The new vehicle sales pace slowed notably in May, falling to 15.6 million from a pace of 17.3 million in April. That's a 10% decline month over month. Yes. Overall, new vehicle incentives increased slightly from last month, from 6.7% of the average transaction price in April to 6.8% in May, so $3,300 per vehicle. Incentives last month were also mostly unchanged year over year. The big thing that I'm seeing here, though, is a 10% decline in sales month over month. And this is also in connection with, there's a headline in Automotive News that talks about the inventory situation, saying new vehicle inventory stays slim at 2.79 million as recovery falters. So what's going on here in the auto industry right now? And did car sales actually plummet month over month?
Actually, car sales were up slightly year over year for May, but it was a big decline from what we had seen in March and April. The seasonally adjusted sales rate was up to over, I think, 17.1 million. 17.3 million on an annualized basis based on April sales. And so they dropped significantly from April sales to a seasonally adjusted retail run rate of 15.6 million. And that's a huge reduction. But sales were up a tick May over May from 24 to 25. Don't know what the month of June looks like so far. At a certain point, the dealers and the manufacturers are going to sell out of their pre-tariff inventory. Many have already on say the Toyota side of things and some other brands. So we know that there's going to be some price increases. We know Subaru announced price increases. We know Ford announced some price increases. We know Hyundai has announced some price increases. We know, I think Infiniti is holding the line on their prices until August to create certainty. These are really uncertain times, and the only certainty is that there's uncertainty.
Let me pull up some data here, Dad, because we do have some information about pricing, which would be the average MSRP for for a new vehicle in May was $50,968, which is up from April. It's the highest point we've seen thus far in 2025. It's worth keeping in mind here that the highest all-time average vehicle MSRP we've seen was December of 2024 at almost $52,000. So obviously we've seen higher MSRPs. However, seeing the high watermark thus far in 2025 is not a good sign for what you're describing, which is obviously the impacts of tariffs. That being said, let's look at some of the data on incentives, because incentives haven't increased as much as we thought. And to your point a moment ago, maybe that's because pre-tariff inventory hasn't necessarily been sold out yet. Well, that story starts to change for some of those brands here in June and into July, especially as some of the pull-ahead consumer demand maybe falters. And so it'll be interesting to watch incentives here, Dad. It says a majority of automakers reduced incentive spending last month. So we'll have to break that down. Why would they do that? Volkswagen, Mazda, Land Rover, Volvo, and BMW all reduced incentive spending by more than 10%. The incentives were also notably lower month over month for Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram. Tesla, Toyota, and Nissan conversely increased incentive spending significantly in May. Even with an increase of more than 20%, Toyota continues to spend well below the industry average on incentives, averaging approximately 4.1% of the average transaction price in May, up from 3.4% in April. Make it make sense, Dad. And also, aren't you feeling good about leasing your Mazda before they lowered their incentives?
I am indeed.
Break this paragraph down, dude, because it is confusing to me.
Here's the reality. You look at Volkswagen, Mazda, Land Rover, Volvo, and BMW. Most of those are imported cars. So most of those cars are subject to varying degrees of tariffs. But on imported cars, it's 25%. So if they had to lower their incentives, that means that because they are absorbing so much of the tariff cost, the extra cost to bring the vehicle in, as opposed to raising their prices, they're eating as much of the tariff as they can, so they don't have as much money left over to spend in incentives to incentivize the customers to come in and buy the cars. Might have something to do with why Mazda sales were down 20% in May. Might have something to do with why Subaru sales were down in May. So the manufacturers are making a choice. And the choice is we can either raise the prices, or due to our extra cost from incentives, or we can keep the prices the same and incentivize the sales less than what we had been in the past. And so there's a limited amount of dollars to go around. The dollars can either go to offsetting tariff increases or going towards incentives to sell the cars. Right now, they're using it to offset the tariff increases and not the incentives.
What do you make of brands like Tesla, Toyota, and Nissan increasing their incentive spending? Because those three brands are all in very different positions. What do you make of that?
Well, okay. Tesla's sales have gone backwards or stagnated at best in the United States and in China. So, they have some decisions to make. And if like their Cybertruck inventory is piling up, well, then you have to do something to move it. What do? Typically, you lower the price or you increase the incentive. Toyota increases the incentive because their incentive spend per car is half of what the industry average is. If they're at 4.1% of average transaction price going towards incentives, when the industry as a whole is, I think, hovering close to 9%, they are less than half of what other manufacturers are having to pay to incentivize their customers. And my suspicion is the reason that it's gone up slightly is because they are asking their customers to put a deposit on incoming units and wait for them. So the reward for asking them to wait is that we will increase the incentive amount so that you'll want to wait. Nissan, they've got no choice. They're struggling. They're having their sales have gone backwards for years. They're struggling, so they have to regain their footing. And in order to do that, they're spending a poop ton of money on incentives for both the Rogue and the Pathfinder because, well, they've got to be able to generate some cash flow. And this is how they're attempting to do it when they've lost as much market share as they have. So I think I kind of sort of explained why some are cutting back while others are adding a little. But especially Toyota, when you look at their amount, it's next to nothing compared to all their competitors.
And also, if we were to dig in more deeply into the types of vehicles that are getting the 4% of incentive as a result of the average or as a component of the average transaction price, it'd probably be more of those Tundras and things like that. Although, Dad, we did have a deal of the day last week which was that Toyota Sienna with a major discount on it. So who knows? Maybe the seal is starting to crack just a little bit. A bit more data I want your reaction to, and to help our community understand how to make sense out of all this. Transaction prices held steady month over month for many of the most popular best-selling vehicles. Transaction prices and incentive levels were mostly unchanged in the compact SUV and midsize SUV segments, the two largest segments. In May, the average price paid for a compact SUV, the best-selling segment in the US, was $36,515, and incentive spending data was about the same at 8% in May compared to 7.9% in April. So a little bit, it seems like it was a wait-and-see type approach in the month of May to see, okay, April was an incredible month for the auto industry, sales through the roof. May was a wait and see approach in many ways from a pricing perspective, although we did see some of the manufacturers pull back on incentives. And now June really becomes the question mark of, do sales continue to decline month over month, or do sales start to tick back up? But what do you make of this? The most popular segments, most popular types of vehicles, they're just kind of flat. Nothing really changed.
And my guess is that the manufacturers are going to try and keep the average prices paid for those in the mid to upper 30s. They don't really want the small and compact SUV segment to suddenly be $40,000+. There's a psychological barrier for a lot of people once you break $40,000. So my guess is they're going to try and keep the prices as much as they can between 35,000 and 39,000 for as long as they can, for psychological reasons. And you know, it all depends on how much the import tariffs are costing them. We read that Mazda figures they can go a year trying to eat all the extra cost of the tariffs. Well, and then at a certain point, you have to do something different if that year comes around where you've eaten it all. We know that Toyota was in April and May, I think it was, or March and April. It was costing Toyota about $600 million a month to eat as much of the tariffs as they can. I am sure that when they came up with their fiscal budget, they didn't factor in $7.2 billion decline in earnings due to tariff expenditures. So there's only so long that these manufacturers can eat as much of the tariffs as they can. And either you will end up with a situation where they all bring in fewer cars, and so we as consumers will have fewer choices. And last time I checked, we as consumers in this country, we love choice. That's what we want. That's why we're Americans, damn it. We want as many choices as we can have. And the perfect example of it is Infiniti. Infiniti basically has two vehicles that they sell now, the QX60 and the QX80, because they are made in Tennessee. Okay, and the Infinitis that are being built in Mexico, those models, they're no longer importing them. So Infiniti is down to 2 models to choose from when they used to be, I think, 4 or 5. So that's what you see. You will see dwindling choices as we move forward. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't think it's a terrible thing, but I think many people will complain that I don't have as many options as I had before. So it's really, it's just really an extremely complex situation on so many different levels as to how long any one of these companies can eat the extra cost of tariffs before we see a major change.
We haven't even talked about rare earths yet today. So, I mean, yeah, there's so many dynamics in this. I want to pull up one more data point, and then we'll switch gears. Sports cars, luxury cars, and luxury subcompact SUVs saw prices climb the most month over month in May. Popular small mid-sized pickup trucks also posted higher prices month over month in May, increasing about 1% to $42,000, and incentives ticked slightly lower. So what are your thoughts here, Dad, on this segment of vehicles?
Well, sports cars, if they're not selling this time of year, they're never selling. Okay. There's a couple things you can count on in life, and that would be sports cars and convertibles go up in price, go up in value in late spring, early summer. I mean, that's, so that part's normal. Luxury cars and luxury subcompact SUVs, it's just proving that that the market most of these manufacturers are appealing to are an upper income segment of our society. So that, we've said it before that a year ago or a year and a half ago, it was 17% of the population said, yeah, I can afford to buy a car. My suspicion is we're probably down to 13 to 15% of the population. The manufacturers realize it. So that percentage of the population that's still buying cars, they're still going to continue to buy the expensive cars because they can. Okay. And it's the rest of the peeps that are going to have issues. It really is.
I mean, Dad, we were the ones here at CarEdge that produced the study that got picked up by Bloomberg. And let's read this out really quickly. There's nothing they can do to prevent this from having an impact. That's Sean Tucker, editor at Kelley Blue Book, talking about tariffs. There's not a single cliff, but the date they run out of those pre-tariff cars, that's when you're going to see the most dramatic change. Sales may suffer as a result. A recent survey from CarEdge.com found that 65% of new car buyers would walk away if monthly payments rose just 5%. In a market where car prices are already near historic highs. An Edmunds survey released Thursday of last week found 3/4 of car buyers said tariffs would be a factor in their shopping decisions. Shoppers are already not getting the deals that were commonplace just months ago. So you can see there data from Kelley Blue Book, CarEdge.com, and Edmunds all painting the exact same picture that you were describing. Dad, let's come here to the chat for a moment from Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Yes, hike those sports car prices. Looks like Matthew's trying to sell his BMW M4. And earlier in the day from Igor, Infiniti cars were flooded at the dealer auctions 2 weeks straight. And I bet this Friday I'll see them again flooding the auctions. Infiniti is a brand. We've talked about it many times on this channel. We like to focus on what's going to happen to car prices because that's more impactful for our community. But there's likely also going to be some structural changes to the auto industry. Some of these brands might merge or have to restructure. And Infiniti is one of those brands potentially on the chopping block. Maybe it makes a lot of sense to cut back to just their 2 models like you were talking about a moment ago.
Well, not if you're an Infiniti dealer.
Yeah, how would you feel if you're an Infiniti dealer right now and you have 2 vehicles to sell?
Well, it would remind me of the time when I was with Acura, and it was like it's like you have a 4-legged stool, but you only got 3 legs.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because you don't have enough cars. So if Infiniti had a 4-legged stool, they're down to 2 legs. Well, that's not very stable. And so if you're an Infiniti dealer, this is killing you. The average net profit for dealerships today, on average for the industry, is probably somewhere around 4 to 5%. 4 to 5 cents out of every dollar that is spent at a dealership makes it to the bottom line. At Infiniti, it is less than a cent at the moment. Okay, that is so they are in such bad position profitability wise because they don't have anything to sell. It is hard to only have a midsize and a large SUV and no entry level model to bring people in. That doesn't bode well for the brand. Now, the difference, say, between Infiniti and Acura is only available in the United States and Canada. Okay, Infiniti is available worldwide. Doesn't sell, but it is available worldwide. But in the United States, they just don't have enough product for dealerships to be profitable.
It is
That's the real
interesting.
issue.
It is interesting, Dad, though, because they also just rolled out a new incentive plan for dealers that is eerily similar to what we see with Nissan. Similar to
Yeah,
larger sibling Nissan, Infiniti will revamp its retailer compensation program in July to lift
yeah.
sales and dealer profitability. Infiniti will tie 15% of dealer margin to monthly sales targets. Sales objectives will be based on a store's past performance and market opportunity. Infiniti will pay retailers that meet their monthly objectives a percentage of the invoice price on every vehicle sold. The program also will tie dealer margin to delivering a premium customer experience. So you see more incentives to move volume from these manufacturers.
And may I say, the key word in there for the dealers is not necessarily based on sales, but market opportunity. Okay, so Infiniti can look at your dealership numbers, and they can assign you a sales objective based on what they think you actually should be selling, that as a market opportunity. And oftentimes those two numbers have nothing to do with each other. Okay, if it, let's say the Infiniti dealership has consistently sold 50 new Infinitis a month, that would probably be a pretty volume Infiniti dealer at the moment. Uh, and so, but let's say Infiniti looks at that market based on what Acura's doing, based on what Audi's doing, based on what BMW's doing, and they go, that should be a 75 car a month store. So they might set the sales objective at 75 cars based on market opportunity, which had nothing to do with what past sales were. I can tell you, there were so many times that I would look at the objectives set by Acura and I'd go, where did this number come from? Based on our 90-day rolling average, where does this number come? You know what we've sold. So where does, well, this is market opportunity. Okay. So, market opportunity is just BS. Okay. This is what we think we should sell. The fact that we can't, that doesn't impact it. You should sell that many.
So think about this. We talk about the relationship between automakers and dealers in this multi-tiered selling system.
Yes.
The pain that's being felt at the manufacturer level with Infiniti should drive some desperation in dealer behavior and opportunity for customers. Because when you were that Acura dealer, Dad, and your rep said hit 75, and you said, well, crap, the highest we've ever gotten is 50. I mean, what do? You just start selling them, stacking them deep and selling them cheap, right?
There's two things. There's two ways dealers are going to respond to this. If the number is ridiculous, the dealer's just going to say, well, we're never going to hit the number, because there's no reason to suspect that we're going to be able to go from 50 to 75 cars. As much as they might say that's our marketing opportunity, the truth of the matter is, that's not the type of growth that you should anticipate. So that there's many dealers that are going to look at the number that they're given and they're going to go, we can't do that. Sell every car for what you need to get out of it. Don't worry about the sales objective that Infiniti has given us, because we can't reach that goal. And then there'll be other dealers who will desperately try to reach the goal. And then, like when they're 3 weeks into the month and they realize they ain't never going to hit that goal, all those cars they gave away first. So
I will say, Dad, on the market opportunity piece, back at CarEdge.com, every month, tens of thousands of new car shoppers go through CarEdge.com to purchase a new vehicle. And so we actually get conquest data based on vehicles that people expressed interest in. And
yes.
Nissan is one of the most conquested brands. So someone comes to CarEdge, they say they're interested in buying a Nissan. That is one of the brands that has the highest percentage of those users then getting conquested to a different brand. So we do get some of this data, and it is interesting to look at. Let me know in the chat or in the comments for today's show if you're interested in us sharing some of the data about the CarEdge community in that way, and I'll see if we can. But yeah, Infiniti is definitely one of the brands that they lose a lot of sales relative to their peers.
Well, don't forget that when Infiniti came out, it was going to be the luxury division of Nissan. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago where Nissan said, okay, we're not going. It's not going to be a luxury brand anymore. It'll be a premium brand. There's a difference between premium and luxury, and but they never really lowered their prices to like premium brand levels, which is why their sales suck. Okay, it is. I mean, some of this stuff is not that hard to figure out. Okay, we don't really provide a luxury vehicle. Okay, and we don't provide a luxury shopping experience for our customers because what we're selling them is a premium vehicle at a premium shopping experience. And so when that doesn't marry with what you're trying to create, then the sales don't work, and they're not working for Infiniti.
Dad, let's switch gears and let's go to our favorite segment of the show. Before we do, from Matthew earlier in the show, thank you for this, Matthew. Ray, I see an Easter egg green, mint green M4. Maybe that's in your future. Also, kudos to you, Dad. Your watch band matching your shirt. You look fantastic today.
Well,
and from Igor,
I'm trying.
You look great. I'm buying Infiniti models at dealer auctions 80 to 85% below MMR. That's the Manheim Market Report. That's like the industry value that a used vehicle should be worth. Almost new cars were flooded, and we're talking about 2024 models with less than 5,000 miles on them. Flooded meaning lots of inventory, not flood cars. Dad, let's switch gears and let's talk about our favorite segment.
Really? You have got to be kidding me.
All right. Ford is reducing the MSRP of the Ford Bronco Raptor. You can see it right there. You gotta squeeze your eyes a little bit, but this is good news. The Ford Bronco Raptor 2024 model year had a $92,030 MSRP. There's a $10,000 reduction coming around the corner for the 2025 model year. So you can see there, we've got really, really good pricing, $81,990. Now here's the really, you've got to be kidding me. There are over 2,700 prior model year, 23 and 24, Ford Bronco Raptors sitting on dealer lots right now. Many of them for 500 plus days. So good news from Ford. We've got MSRPs declining by $10,000 for the Ford Bronco Raptor. But wow, Dad, these Bronco Raptors are expensive and they are not selling.
And how do you think that impacts the value of those 500-day-old ones? These
or the ones that people bought last year,
Well, forgetting all the people that have overpaid for Bronco Raptors forever. The fact that they're willing to lower the price by $10,000. Well, the dealers that are sitting on 23s and 24s, I'm pretty sure Ford has given them whatever assistance they were going to give them already. So these dealers are either they're not going to get a haircut, they're going to get a buzz cut. Okay. It is let me just shave your head, Mr. Dealer Principal. And you take whatever you can get for these Raptors, because I don't know how to break it to you, but these are not like fine wine. None of these vehicles is getting better with age. Actually, they're getting worse with age, because as they sit, things deteriorate, things go wrong. Rodents and stuff see like 3 rows of new condominiums to live in, and so they're just, God only knows how many issues some of these Broncos might have that have been sitting for well over a year. And trust me, ain't nobody driving them, because the dealers go, that's a Raptor. I don't want you demoing that car, not unless you're serious about buying it. So there's some real concern here, some real issues. And there's going to be a lot of haircutting going on when it comes to those 23 and 24 new Raptors that are sitting.
I will remind everyone, you can see how long vehicles have been sitting on dealer lots back on CarEdge.com. Just click on Shop New or Shop Used in the top menu right there. And then on the CarEdge car search, you can see how long a vehicle's been sitting on a dealer's lot, as well as sort by how long vehicles have been sitting on dealers' lots. Want to come here, Dad? Lumberjeff. Thank you, Lumberjeff. A 2024 Bronco Raptor near me has dropped to $74,000 and still sitting. And from Space here, not difficult to get $20,000 off on a 2024 Bronco Raptor. That is the world we are living in right now. No wonder Ford is dropping that MSRP so much year over year. Pops, let's call it a show for today. We're back with call-ins and all that fun stuff next week. So continue to bear with me here as I'm in Mykonos, Greece. I'll give you another view of the beach. I mean, it's pretty spectacular, man.
Yeah. You know what's spectacular here? It's been foggy all day. Okay, it's spectacularly foggy here at the Jersey Shore in the mid 60s yet again, ladies and gentlemen. We're not having good beach weather, I can tell you that.
It's pretty great beach weather here. That being said, we're here working at CarEdge to help you out. Check out the website, caredge.com. If we can assist with anything, I'm thinking especially, Dad, with what's my vehicle worth, what's my car worth, check that out back on caredge.com. But everyone, enjoy the afternoon, enjoy your day, Dad, and let's be back here again tomorrow.
You know what? That's my plan. And if you haven't had enough of me, and I don't know how that could possibly be, but Brandon and I from CarSense and Car Questions Answered, we will be on today, CarSense, at 4 o'clock today. We had to run, do the show a little later today. Brandon had some other things that he needed to take care of, but we will be on the airwaves. So if you're interested, and like I say, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, please tune in.
All right, folks, we're back tomorrow. Love you, Dad.
Love you too, handsome. Have a great evening in Mykonos.